All right, here we are, loading onto the circuit. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome here to Circuit de la Sarthe. As we're preparing to get underway for the start of Stint 4 here, we'll try to give you a quick rundown through the order here. If we're fortunate, I'll try to also knock out an ad break now before they start rolling, just so we can get ahead of ad breaks and they're not going to cut in right in the middle of the first round of stops as well. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host for today's broadcast, the same Layer 13. Welcome back to Circuit de la Sarthe. A real quick look at the starting field for Stint 4 for the C Lobby. Skyline Lofi will be starting up front, followed by Apex Yez, Rough Driving, THR Vanthor, AMS Kapachi Rambasamba, VRTTJ, Leechard, and Microbio. Then we get to the GT category. That is going to be led by LMP Kindry, followed by I have no idea. I'll just call you Han. I don't no idea how to pronounce that. Then AMS and Doctro, Scored Buffalo, Calco 29, VGT David, King Cameron in the 242 BMW, ZR Fabrics, who is actually in the proper driver category this time. So maybe he'll be able to actually recover a bit from the bad run in the last stint. Then Blocktoberfest. Then EMC Wasabi, followed by Breedy in the Ford GT, Lullaby in another Porsche, and last place, oh, come on. Then last place will be NWR 7VO Skill. So we have dropped a GT at this stage of the event here. So now we wait about 58 seconds before we get underway here at LeMans. Been a very interesting event, and if we get to a more calmer part here in Stint 4, I'll go ahead and give you all a little bit of a rundown and a catch-up of what's happened over the first 3 stints. But the GT category has been the main one to watch, but that's not to say that prototypes have been a snooze fest. There's definitely been some very interesting, strange events that have happened here throughout the day in the prototype category. Crazy thing is, I'm supposed to be doing 7 of these stints overall over the 24 hours, and my voice is already starting to burn out here. The GT drivers in particular will not stop fighting. They have been on top of each other all day today. So we should start seeing the field take the green flag shortly here. All right, you can hear them rolling. 8 prototypes still running. We have gone from 18 to 17. No, we have gone from 16 to 15. Something like that. GTs. And we are off and underway here already for Stint 4 at TORA's 24 Hours of LeMans. Skyline Lofi immediately gets a run and immediately slides wide. Yez had a great run against Yez, though. Yez is trying to stay ahead of Rough Driving ahead of Vanthor, and Vanthor, Kenpachi Rampasama, and TJ all around top of each other. And that's Kenpachi Rampasama, who is stunned right in front of the field. He's not the only one. There's another car involved. That's Microbio. Oh! And Microbio is completely damaged, I imagine. I can't imagine any way that car's not destroyed. No, there's no damage. Somehow Microbio has no damage. But TJ turned Kenpachi Ramasama in the middle of the field. And Kenpachi ended up turning Microbio, but somehow both of them are able to continue going. There's no damage to either of their cars. Meanwhile, at the head of the field, Skyline, Yez, and Vanthor in the GT category. Oh my goodness, this is a mess, and there is the prototype of Microbio who gets by and clears them. But it's the BMW of LMP Kindring, who is now leading in GT, with Han right behind in the 4GT, followed by AMS and Doctro in another 4GT, and Scored Buffalo is a little bit further back in the BMW. Now, it looks like the other car, the car we lost in GT, was the Ferrari that may have gotten a big hit and distance penalties from Stint 1, so that's going to be a bit of a shame. But look at this, the top 5 all nose to tail here in GT right now. At the head of the prototype field, not much difference between the top 2, Skyline Lofi and Apex Yez. And Yez, what in the world was that? I don't know how he didn't go off. Yez looked like he was bound and determined to go off, and Skyline goes off in the dirt coming out of Indianapolis. Will maintain his position over Yez just for the moment. Meanwhile in GT, BMW holds station. Doctro in the 4GT trying to keep Scored Buffalo behind. Buffalo trapped on the outside, but he's got the run. He's got the momentum, and Buffalo's already up into 3rd. 4GT on GT. No, that's Ferrari on 4GT action. That is the Ferrari of Calco. That car finished 2nd in the last hit. Now he's trying to climb back up now. But look at this. Scored Buffalo started 4th and already is up to 3rd and trying to make something happen. And there's been more incidents going on. Just at the head of the field, Yez has gotten by Skyline Lofi. It's in GT. Han has gotten by Kindring, and now Buffalo is the one putting Kindring under pressure. Kindring slides wide, can't control the car, going through the Porsche curve. Scored's gonna try and pass him on the outside. He does it. He scores, completes the overtake, going the long way around. Scored is so much faster than everyone else here in this lobby, it would appear. Now, obviously, there is still time for that to change. Someone has gone off farther back. Is this Wasabi? Wasabi's coming into the pits. Is there damage? No damage as far as I can see. I wonder if he got turned or if he's serving some sort of penalty. TJ has had an incident. He is also in the pits. He's just come out, so I don't know if he's been involved in an accident or not. But TJ, things have gone bad already for him. It seems like his day is really in trouble. Now, Scored Buffalo tucks up behind Han. This is for the lead. 4GT versus BMW. BMWs were fine in the daytime, but here in the night they have really come to life, and Scored Buffalo is the best example of that. Han defends the inside. Buffalo goes to the outside. It's going to be a drag race. Looks pretty obvious to me that Buffalo, unless something crazy happens to him, Buffalo has the car to beat and is going to be able to just destroy the majority of the field here. The fight might be for 2nd in GT today. Yes, and Skyline are having a heck of a fight here at the head of the prototype category, and we'll check a look on that again once these two finally settle their differences. Han hanging out, gets behind, scored. He's in the draft, but I don't know if he's going to be close enough to really get a big run. Huh, that's interesting. One person in the commenting says that pitting early is the strat because the draft doesn't really help if everyone is doing 3 and 4 wide racing constantly. So we'll keep an eye on TJ because now TJ has had to navigate his way through GT traffic again. And Wasabi is now pitted early as well. So yeah, I don't know how accurate that's going to be because for TJ at least, TJ has had to now navigate all the GT traffic basically an entire extra time. Buffalo's wide! Buffalo's made a mistake and now Han goes back by. There goes TJ. Real quickly, just want to see this here. Is everything okay with rough driving? He's got engine damage, but he is still running at this stage of the event. Alright, this is the fight for GT category lead right now. And there's another fight. Something has happened to Yez. What's happened to Yez? He has gone from first to third, coming out of the Porsche curves. There's a little bit of engine damage, but I wonder if he's had a twitch coming out of the Ford chicanes and has now fallen back in the process. So now his Skyline is barely ahead of Vanthor. So I guess this stint, it's going to be the prototypes they give us the show. It's been the GTs for the first 3, but maybe this time it's the Protos. Skyline, Vanthor, Yez, all on top of each other. Leechard's not that far behind either. Actually, Leechard has basically caught this group, so now it's the top 4 in Protos, all on top of each other. Although Skyline is trying to open up the gap on Dries Vanthor. Not Dries Vanthor, sorry, TNR Vanthor. Big draft train flying down Mulsanne here. Oh, the big slide by 69 coming in. Vanthor slides back and forth. He got really close into braking, but he loses so much time in the chicane. Now Skyline starts to pull away. Here comes Yez. Yez is going to make it side by side for a second in the middle third of the Mulsanne straightaway. Who's got the draft off of Skyline, though? That's going to be the real question. I think it's Yez who's got the draft. And yes, he is going to clear. Goes to second. Now he'll be the one going deep. Under braking, going into the second chicane. Pulls up right behind Skyline. And now Yes looks to the outside. Pachi Ramasama back there in 5th is not too far behind. And look at this 2x2 for the top 4 positions in prototypes. Not anymore. Oh, wow, Yes goes deep. Skyline tries to make something happen, has to back out, gets hit by Leechard, but he keeps it on track. Yes now starts to open up the gap. Skyline now has to deal with Leechard behind and Vanthor. Side by side for third, and whoever gets ahead in this fight gets a shot at Skyline. Maybe both of them will try to get a shot at Skyline. Leechard coming around the outside. Is Vanthor going to try to make it on the inside? Oh my goodness, there's not enough room here. They made it work. Somehow they've made it sick. Although Vanthor has a really bad run going through Indianapolis. The Skyline holds on to second right now, but Leechard is right behind, pressuring him. They come out of R9. Now it's the run up to the Porsche curves. Man, you cannot catch the break. These drivers will not stop absolutely bodying each other around the circuit. Again, TJ pitted lap 1. I didn't look like there was any damage, but a suggestion in the comments said that the best way to run this was to just do the first stop as early as possible so you weren't wasting time fighting with other drivers on track. Is that going to be the winning strategy for TJ? He is now basically an entire pit stop ahead of the rest of the field. looks like Skyline and Yez are starting to pull away from Leechard and Vanthor here early on. Skyline gets really close into the dirt back there. Check it out, Kenpachi Ramasama is right here in 5th position. Well, if something happens to the top 4, he would be in a fantastic position to capitalize. Vanthor runs in 4th, Leechard 3rd, and now Leechard's starting to run the gap back down between himself and the top 2. Skyline can't really seem to do anything to Yes. I think Yes is faster than Skyline. I think there's a high possibility that Leechard is faster than both of our leaders. We're still relatively early on. There's still a lot of time for things to shift and change here. Again, the other driver to keep an eye on will be EMC Wasabi, because Wasabi in the GT category also pitted on lap 1. He is basically trying to be an entire pit strategy ahead of the rest of the field by running a bunch of laps in clean air. I don't know if that's going to be the winning strategy or not. I won't lie, I honestly hope that's not the winning strategy, because that would make the rest of the sense very boring if everyone's just trying to min-max by pitting early and then they just save fuel the entire time. But we'll see. All right. Top 5, all in a draft train with each other. Yes, Skyline, Leechard, Vanthor, and Kenpachi Ramasama. All in a line. Skyline is closed up on Yes. If the top 2 start going... Oh! And Yes is turned! Yes is turned by Skyline! He's turned out of the lead! Yes gets dumped down the lead by Skyline! And now Leechard goes by! Skyline slows down so that way Yes has a chance to close back up and get his position back. It doesn't look like Yes. No! Yes is destroyed! Yes, his car is destroyed! The impact was so much that he has lost the rear to the car! So what of Skyline? Is Skyline's car damaged as well? Yes, they are! So the 2 cars that were leading in prototypes have an instant right away! Oh no, that's another one! That's Yes! That was Yes! Oh my goodness, so Yes! And... Skyline, the 2 leaders, have right down the lead early on here at LeMans, and now it is Vanthor, Leechard, and Kenpachi Ramasama fighting, dicing for the top 3 positions. Vanthor has it, but he slides. Leechard's trying to close in. So is Kenpachi. I said earlier, hey, if something goes wrong to the leaders, this will be great for Kenpachi, and that's exactly what's happened. Now Kenpachi is putting pressure on Leechard as they come for the run up to the Porsche curves. One driver this will really help, in theory, could be TJ. He pitted lap 1. He's been running in clean air. He should be able to close significantly on both Skyline and Yes after that. A big drama here, early on in the prototype category. So prototypes really are the one to watch this stand, at least early on here. Scored Buffalo and Han have been going back and forth in the GT positions for a while, but this has been where the real action has been going on here at the head of the field in prototypes. And Vanthor under pressure from Leechard as they come onto... Oh, and that's Kenpachi Rama! Kenpachi has a slide for the back! And he's gonna lose a bunch of time, might fall into the clutches of Microbiome! So then there were 2. At this point, a lap ago, there were 5 guys on top of each other for a lead, and now there's 2. It's Vanthor in front, and Leechard in second. Under the Dunlop Bridge, and into the Dunlop Curves, once more. Vanthor trying to keep Leechard behind. Vanthor slides that rear really wide there. Vanthor really must have a car that has almost no downforce on the rear, just trying to maximize straight line speed. I can't think of any other reason why you would be sliding the rear end out that much. Leechard's got a big toe. He's right behind. He looks to the inside. Drag race for the top spot in prototypes now. Leechard has the inside line. He's got the nose ahead. He's got his car about a third of the way ahead. Dead heat on the run down into the braking zone. Who breaks deeper in? It's Leechard, who goes incredibly deep over Vanthor. Leechard goes to the top spot now. Vanthor in second, but now Vanthor is going to be the one who has the draft off of Leechard. And all the while, Kenpachi Rama and Microbio are actually starting to close back in on this top 2 here. Toyota versus Audi here at the head of the prototype field. Vanthor makes a big dive into the second chicane. gets alongside but backs out. Still is trying to set up for a good exit. Leechard still has it, but Vanthor is there. Vanthor has the draft on Leechard. Now Vanthor looks to the inside. Drag race. Vanthor will be on the inside, coming into the hardest braking zone on the circuit. Mulsanne corner, neck and neck. There's a little bit of contact. Who's got the position on exit? It looks like it's Leechard. Vanthor may have had a slightly better exit, but Leechard maintains track position all the way through. Calco in the Ferrari is already making their first stop. Just about 18 minutes in, so is Lulba in the GT category. But the fight for prototypes continue. Vanthor inside, Leechard outside. Who goes deeper into Indianapolis Aeronage? That time it was Vanthor, but Vanthor is sliding that outside tire. Leechard has to be really careful. He backs down just to not go into the dirt. And here comes Kenpachi Ramasama once again. Leechard nearly hits the tire barrier coming out of Aeronage. Open up a bit of a gap now on Leechard, and here comes Kenpachi. Ooh, they're all basically right on top of each other here at the top of the prototype category. How much longer are they going to stay out? 30% tire wear right now on all of them. So I imagine they'll come in next lap by. Oh, and Kenpachi deep into the dirt! Did he hit the wall? Does not look like he hit the wall, but all that time he gained back on the leaders is gone. And now Microbio has caught Kenpachi Ramasama once again. Microbio goes back by. Now Kenpachi lunges in the chicane and gets back by Microbio. So Kenpachi might be the fastest one here, but he cannot seem to get a good run through the 4 chicanes. If Kenpachi could just knock out a good run through the 4 chicanes, he could very easily be the fastest driver on track right now. Halko, Wasabi, and Lulba all have kind of caught each other in a bit of a pack that this duo fighting for a lead in prototypes will be dealing with shortly. So now it's Vanthor leading, Leechard coming on the inside once more. Leechard goes deep into the braking. Vanthor causes the rear of the car to slide out, but he continues to push the issue. They're side by side on corner exit. Leechard looks like he has it, but Vanthor's got to suck up right behind, get a nice big draft, and start closing the gap down again. Prototypes have been absolutely wild thus far today in Stint 4. Now Vanthor on the inside of Leechard. Side by side, who goes deeper? It's really hard to tell, but it looks like Vanthor is out to get the position. Vanthor back ahead of Leechard. Now they do the final third of the Mulsanne straightaway. They'll go around that slight bend, uphill, then downhill. Leechard is going to make it side by side again. Side by side for a prototype lead again as they come into the Mulsanne corner. Who's going to go deeper this time? It's easily Leechard, but Vanthor sets himself up for a better exit. And boy, Vanthor played that perfectly. Really caught Leechard into making a big mistake. And now Vanthor goes back to the top spot. He's opened up a bit of a gap on Leechard this time. The 2 fastest prototypes, Yes and Skyline, have a big accident in the first few laps. Now all of a sudden, this duo, Vanthor and Leechard, are the ones fighting for the win, with a possibility for Kenpachi Ramasama and Microbio in 3rd and 4th to close back in on this deal, especially because these 2 will not stop fighting. Han is paying out 2nd, so is VGT David out 3rd in the GT category. So we're going to start seeing the majority of the field making their pit stops this lap here. What of the prototypes? How many of our prototype drivers are going to pit this time? How many are not? Now we see prototypes, they're going to be coming around these GT cars. These are GT cars that have already made their first pit stop thus far today. That is Calco, Wasabi, and Lulba that they're trying to all get around. Leechard closes in on Vanthor as Vanthor is held up by Wasabi. Now all of a sudden the gap immediately shrinks right back down. Prototypes are right on top of each other once again. Do they pit this time? No, they're both going to stay out. But Microbio and Kapachi Rapasama in third and fourth will come in and pit this time by. This duo are going to have to deal with a bunch of GT traffic that just came out of pit road as well. They're going to have to deal with the likes of Blocktoberfest. They may have to deal with the likes of David and Han. I believe that's David just ahead of them that they're about to come up on. Yes, it is. Vanthor clears Dave without issue. So does Leechard. Next driver they'll have to deal with will be Han in the Ford GT. So if they catch Han in a straightaway, it won't matter. And that's going to be the case. Han will not have a direct impact on this fight in the prototype category lead. Vanthor has it. TJ is pitting again already. So whatever TJ was doing, I think it may have been more to repair damage rather than laying an alternate strategy here. Nose to tail for the prototype lead here. Vanthor slides right in front of Leechard. Leechard has a run this time. Tucked up nose to tail again. Now Leechard looks to the outside. Vanthor says, all right, fine, you can have it. But I want the ideal inside line coming into the next braking zone. The second Mulsanne chicane. How well will that work for Vanthor? He goes deep. The rear end slides out from under him. Leechard gets the position. But now Leechard slides on exit. And Vanthor has the run on the outside. Drag race again. Prototypes will not stop fighting today. They've seen that we've spent so much time focusing on the GTs that now they know, okay, fine. We have to do something to really bring the attention on us. And boy, have they. Vanthor to the inside of Leechard. Leechard, Vanthor make a little bit of door-to-door contact. Drag race out of Mulsanne now. And they're coming up on more GT traffic. That will be NWR 7VO skill ahead. And they're going to catch them just as they get to the braking zone of the Indianapolis and Arnaud chicanes. Well, not chicanes, but complex, I should say. Leechard's going to have to probably back out here. Yes, he does, but Vanthor slides, nearly losing control right in front of Leechard. And now, NWR goes off right in front of our prototype leaders. Vanthor still holds station. Leechard still right behind, powering out of Arnaud. There's a bunch of GT cars ahead, but they will be GT cars who have yet to make their first stop. So I imagine that those GT cars will be paying at the same time as this duo. Vanthor still holds station over Leechard. Also, while this has all gone on, Rough Driving has circled up in the third as he is also going long on this first stint on the fuel and tires. Scored, but here come the rest of the GT traffic coming into pits now. ZR Fabrics really holds up Vanthor. Leechard gets right behind him. They're going to be coming into pit this lap, I imagine. It's going to be a dead heat. They'll knock out an ad break as they come into the pits. When we come back, we'll see how this turns out. welcome back to Circuit de la Sarthe. As after the first round of pit stops for the entire prototype field has completed, Vanthoor got nice clean track after coming out. Leechard did not, and now because of that, Leechard is under threat from Microbio. So a fight for second in prototypes has now come into play, and they are trying to navigate their way through GT traffic. Vanthoor in relatively cleaner air compared to them, although he also is trying to navigate traffic. Can Microbio do anything to Leechard here? After this first round of stops, Yes and Skyline are both still ahead of TJ, it would seem. All right, here comes Microbio. He's got the draft off of Leechard. Bit of a twitch under braking, but he's here. Vanthoor's compromised just a little bit by that Ford GT. Scored Buffalo still leads. Well, it's actually NWR, but that's just because he's not pitted yet. Buffalo is the one who's actually leading overall in GT. Not really much of a fight in the GT category right now. That is Buffalo, who these two are going by right now, and Buffalo's actually going to hold up Microbio quite a bit. I think that might determine that fight in favor of Leechard, unless Leechard is held up through the Porsche curves by NWR for a significant period of time. Oh, that might be the case. If Leechard's held up by NWR, this could really push him back. Oh, he's held up, not by a massive amount, but it is going to compromise him. And now here comes Microbio. Blitzes by the GT car with no issue, really. Vanthoor's opened up a bit of a gap. This is the fight for second in prototype. It's the most active fight right now. NWR finally pits out of the lead in the GT category. Oh, Microbio, every time he comes out of the Ford chicanes, he slides that rear end wide. I keep thinking he's going to go deep into the dirt in the process. He's not yet. He's kept it clean enough, but he gives me a lot of anxiety every time he does that. Oh, Micro just kind of... I don't think that was intentional, but it looked like he just kind of blew the track limits there. Leechard is starting to close back in on Vanthoor once more now that their field is all in clean air. In fact, right now, the entire field is pretty much within the same roughly 35 to 40% of the track all at the same time. You don't really see that happening. That's not going to stay that way for a whole lot longer, but that's definitely interesting. All right, now Microbio has caught Leechard's draft, and Leechard is just on the edge of catching Vanthoor's draft. So this fight at the head of the prototype field continues. Microbio's got the draft. It looks like Vanthoor is just far enough ahead to stay out of the draft, but I do think that Leechard is legitimately faster than Vanthoor. Micro might be faster than both of them, but he's been making a little bit more mistakes and is just having a lot more trouble maintaining pace. By maintain pace, I mean like maintaining a consistent pace. No big moves yet, not this time. Now, if you're a Microbio, do you start pushing on Leechard, try to get second? Or do you hope that Leechard's got into his rhythm and you can just hang out in his draft and let Leechard pull you up to THR Vanthoor at the head of the field? It does look like Leechard is closing slowly on Vanthoor. Thing is that Vanthoor seems to have a car that's really well set up for these straights. And considering you go through 4 big straightaways in a row here, it might be enough to keep Vanthoor ahead of Leechard. But if Leechard sniffs Vanthoor's draft, it's going to get really close really quick here, I imagine. The draft here is powerful enough that you can negate a setup disadvantage. But Micro, again, nearly slides into the tires on the outside there. Onto the Porsche curves once again. This is where I anticipate we'll see Leachard get a good shot at closing in on Van Thor. He closed, but Micro closed so much on Leachard, he is now putting pressure on Leachard. Van Thor's made a mistake entering the forward chicanes, and now the top three all nose to tail once again. Prototypes all knives out here. In through turn one, and they head to the Dunlop chicane now. Microbio hits Leachard from behind. But there's no change in position, not yet at least. I feel like Van Thor has a superior straight line speed. Leachard is kind of in the middle, and the Micro has superior turning. That's how I feel like these top three are right now at this stage of the event. Alright, Van Thor, Leachard, Microbio, all on top of each other. Leachard immediately goes to the inside. Immediately the top two are fighting for position. And Micro has the draft off of both of them. Leachard gets the car about a third of the way ahead, but now the straight line advantage of Van Thor is pulling his nose back ahead. Who's going to go deeper under braking here? It looks like it will be Leachard, but Leachard has a bit of a twitch. Gives Van Thor room. Leachard twitches again. Van Thor slides out of the line. Here comes Microbio with a good run out of the first chicane. Now in the middle third of the Mulsanne once again. Leachard inside, Van Thor outside. Microbio following Leachard. Micro to the inside of Leachard. Van Thor wants to make it 3 wide. He will back out. He will not make it 3 wide. Leachard slides big time in the second chicane. He's still sliding. Puts the power down. Micro has the run. He cuts over. Goes to the inside. And Van Thor has the run on both of them this time. Leachard, Micro side by side for the lead as they come into the Mulsanne chicane once again. Micro inside, Leachard outside. Who goes deeper under braking? They're both about even, but Micro had the tighter exit, cut Leachard's exit off, and Micro accelerates out. Micro goes from third to first in half a lap. Leachard had his draft. Van Thor is faster a straight line than either of them. Now Van Thor's the one trying to get the draft off of Microbio. Leachard to the outside, side by side once again for the position. Is Van Thor going to try and make it 3 wide as they come into the Indianapolis and Arnage complex? Oh, Leachard really cuts the inside on entry. Leachard goes deep. He slides wide. Microbio now comes to the outside. Micro's going to have to brake early so he doesn't go into the tires. He keeps it off the tires somehow. Side by side on exit. And someone's lagged out so he can't see anything. No, and it's Microbio who was right in the middle of the fight for the lead. And Microbio drops out while fighting for the race win. Not even 40 minutes in, and Microbio drops out. First, it was Yes and Skyline, who had an accident between each other and fell well down the order, out of contention. Now it's Microbio, who won't even finish the run. So the fight is now once again between Leachard and Van Thor. Leachard has it. Van Thor wants it. After that lag out, it looks like Leachard's opened up a small gap over Van Thor. Kapachi Rampasama in third, but he's kind of lost a lot of the pace compared to what he had early on in the event. Fight between Skyline and TJ. Skyline trying to recover from an accident early. TJ pitted lap 1, so he's already knocked the pit stop out, but we think TJ's problem may have been that he may have had his own big accident early on here. Rough driving running in fourth right now, just kind of in zone of his own. Not really anyone around him on track. Deals with a little bit of engine damage. So he's in that more fragile Audi. Audi is known to have a little bit more fragile of a gearbox, and more fragile of an engine right now. Again, already the top two. They're not immediately on top of it, but they're so close to each other. If Linkard has the slightest amount of weakness, Vanthor is going to catch him. But Vanthor, it says he's got a bit of transmission damage, a bit of engine damage, but look at that tire life. Vanthor has really pushed those tires to a limit. This is Linkard. Is that accurate? That's not accurate. Game says that Linkard is out, that Vanthor is out of fuel. He's very much not out of fuel. So it seems like only Vanthor has a problem. It seems like the only car that I've seen thus far who has a problem where no one can really see what his actual fuel or tire life is at. But as long as he's still pitting in sync with Linkard, I'm not too terribly concerned about it. Alright, we have spent so much time focusing on the GT fights, well, on the prototype fights. Well, this one for the 6th and 7th position between Skyline and TJ does still seem to be continuing. But real quickly, let's give you a rundown in GT. Scored Buffalo didn't start near the front, but he has opened up a gap and is already at the front here in GT, followed by VGT David. So the BMWs really have come to life at night. Then you have the Ford GT of Han, the LMP kind re-entry, and then Breddy, who is in, what is Breddy in? Breddy is in another one of the Ford GTs. 6th place is Keen Cameron. 7th place is AMS and Doctro, just a bit behind him. 8th place is Calco. Calco made his first stop very early on compared to the rest of the field. Not sure if it was because of an accident or because he's trying to get off sequence. Then behind them is ZR Fabrics, who is in 9th. 10th is Blocktoberfest. 11th is NWR 7 VO Skill. Then EMC Wasabi is in 12th. They're at 2 stops already, so I wonder if they've had damage. And then Lalba has also already made 2 stops as well. They are last in the GT category right now. And it looks like that gap between the top 2 continues to open up wider and wider. So I think it took about 30 minutes, but finally, the knife fight at the head of the prototype field has calmed itself. The big thing to consider, though, is that everyone in the top 4, they are not the fastest drivers here. Skyline and Yes are the faster drivers, but they both had an accident with each other early on. So Yes and Skyline are going to be trying to dig deep to make up ground and hope that these 4 at the head of the prototype field make mistakes. And that's going to be our main focus through the majority of the remaining of the race. Yes is coming back from the pit lane already to make his 3rd stop. He has pushed these tires really far. Skyline? Yeah, Skyline is still staying out. He continues his fight with TJ right now. So Skyline's pushing his tires a little farther than what Yes is doing. So that's something interesting to consider. Skyline seems to be a little bit more confident, going a little deeper on the tires. It's going to be very important for Skyline because Skyline got knocked off the ideal pit stop sequence after that accident he had with Yes. So if Skyline can actually clear TJ, he may have a shot, maybe not a great shot, but maybe a shot at getting a top 3 result back. We have a fight between Calco and Indoctro. I feel like these 2 have seen each other a few times before. Calco, the only Ferrari left right now in the GT category, got a 2nd in the last stint. And BGT David is already pitting out of the 2nd position. Hallen is pitting out of 3rd, so we're going to start seeing a lot of the GT drivers start making their 2nd stops here. I imagine we'll start seeing our protos making their next stops very shortly as well. Cameron comes into the pits as well, but Calco and Indoctro will continue their fight for another lap here. Linkard, he's got plenty of fuel, his tires still look fine. Vanthor has gradually fallen off in second. But again, we don't really have a good idea as to what his actual fuel and tire numbers are looking like. Kapachi Rampasamba is in third position. Doesn't have a lot of fuel or tires left. Remember, Kapachi made his first stop about a lap earlier than Leechard and Vanthor. So riding a slightly different strat. Rough Driving, who is hanging out kind of by himself in fourth right now. Still has that engine damage, which is not helping him. But could probably stay out for another lap or two. And then TJ has gotten by Skyline for fifth just for the moment. Alright. Do our leaders come in and pit this time? Skyline's gained back by TJ on the run to the Porsche curve. No, not into the Porsche curve, to Indianapolis and Arnage. Skyline clears TJ here. All right, Vanthor pits out second, but Leechard is going to stay out on track for another lap. Obviously, Kapachi Rampasamba is going to pit in with Vanthor. Boy, TJ very nearly slid into the tires there. Rough Driving is going to pit. I imagine we'll see Skyline paying this lap as well, and when Skyline pits, it will likely push him back into this fight. Again, well, no, actually, not back into this fight. It will push Skyline back to where Yes is. I should correct that. Bit of a potential fight here for second, currently in GT. Would likely end up being fourth overall once everyone has completed their second round of pit stops. We're going to go ahead and knock out our ad break here, and when we come back, we should start seeing the rest of the GT field making their second stops here at Circuit de la Sarthe. All right, we want to welcome you back here to Circuit de la Sarthe here at LeMans. Brady and Kymry have ended their fight as Kymry has gone ahead and elected to pit already. Same with Indoctro, but your leader in GT continues to be Scored Buffalo. Didn't really see them take the lead because we were so focused on a knife-out prototype fight at the head of the field, and the driver at the top of it all ended up being this man here, Leechard. Leechard's likely going to be pitting this lap, I imagine, as Vanthor and Kapachi Rampasamba are in second and third right now. And yep, sure enough, there we are. He's coming in this time. Good timing too, because he just was about to catch traffic in a really bad place. So where's Vanthor compared to Leechard? Oh my goodness, Vanthor is so far behind Leechard right now. I can't look at this data. Vanthor's data is not accurate. Well, TJ is slowly fighting his way up through the grid. He is up to fourth right now. He's gotten ahead of Rough Driving. Again, TJ pitted lap 1. He's been running a lot of this, not all, but a good chunk of this race. Not really with anyone else around him on track. Maybe that will get him some results here. Although TJ is now making his third stop already. So he's got to run the remaining 50 minutes of this race on just one more stop, probably with about 25 minutes left of the stint. I imagine that will be his strategy here. So that will put rough driving back and forth ahead of TJ for the moment. It's kind of hard to judge where TJ's actual performance is going to be since he pitted early and is basically running an alt strat for most of this event. In GT, still, Buffalo has yet to make his second stop here. 33%. So he can probably go for a few more laps, honestly. On tires, just fuel is not going to hold up. He'll have to pit this time, I imagine. Then you have Brady, in this Ford GT. He could honestly stay for this lap at another one. You're going to kind of get to the point where it's like, okay, well, you don't want to stay out for too long because then you could end up hurting yourself later on. There is an advantage to pushing late. We've seen that work out for a few drivers thus far, but you don't want to push so far that you end up completely compromising your ability to get into a momentum rhythm late in the event. Calco in this Ferrari is ranked third right now. VGT David was second before making the stop. We're curious to see where he's going to end up in relation to Breedy and Calco after Calco and Breedy make their second stop of the day thus far. Bit of a drag race here between Kinery and NWR7, but NWR is on a radically alternate strategy all of his own. Kinery has actually been put closer to the normal strats, and NWR went super long on the first stint, so who knows how that's going to go. Fight for the last two running positions on track between Yes and Skyline, and TJ is right there as well. So these three can't really seem to get away from each other. All three of these cars have all been kind of snake bit. Now, I didn't see TJ have an accident, so maybe he did have an accident and I missed it. But TJ pitted lap 1, and then Skyline and Yes had an accident in that very chicane that they just came out of. And now these three have kind of been stuck on top of each other. And I do legitimately think that Yes and Skyline are some of our fastest drivers here. But they're spending so much time fighting with each other and with TJ that I don't really think they're going to be able to factor in for a top 4 result. Just as this is going on, they are not set up to really factor in for a result over the likes of Leacher, Vanthor, Kapachi, Rampasamba, or rough driving here. TJ and Yes seem to be a little bit more actively fighting right now. Skyline has kind of lost touch with him just a bit. The prototype's about to go through GT traffic all over again. They're going to have to start dealing with them in Sector 1. Oh, Leacher's into the dirt! Slides wide! He didn't even catch traffic yet! He just slid wide all on his own! That's great news for Vanthor. Vanthor now has a chance to try and run down, and all of a sudden the fight for a lead in prototypes is cut back into high gear again! Leacher is held up by a Porsche! He goes deep, tries to get by, I think he'll get him! But he slides wide on exit, and I think Vanthor is going to catch that Porsche a little bit cleaner part of track. Leacher is going to be dealing with a bunch of GT cars here in these more technical sections. I think Vanthor is going to catch them in the straight. All right, Leacher lunges, gets held up by Wasabi, though, coming onto the straight. Here comes Vanthor. Vanthor can now see Leacher ahead. Boy, this gap is closed down all of a sudden. I was kind of like, okay, the gap's over. I think Leacher's got it. But no, Leacher, big slide coming out of the Ford chicanes. And Vanthor has a better run through traffic than Leacher. And now the gap is closing in Vanthor's favor. Leacher is held up by a Ferrari. And all of a sudden, Vanthor is right there behind Leacher all over again. The fight for the lead is back alive in prototypes. Leacher is on fresher rubber. Vanthor is trying to split the race stints a little bit more evenly. Leacher's rubber is a little bit fresher, though. How much is that going to matter? Vanthor's got to run. He's looking at the inside. Side by side once again for prototype lead. But Vanthor backs out of it. Leacher gets held up by Kinery now coming out of the chicane. And that positions Leaker perfectly for Vanthor to get a good run. They're both going to come up on 4 GT traffic. But Greedy's not going to have a direct impact here. Next cars they're going to come up on will be Han and the Ford GT, but I think they're going to catch them in a straight side-by-side for a lead. And Vanthor has it! Around the inside. Kenpachi Rampasama back there in dirt, slides into the dirt, is going to lose a bit more time to this duo. Vanthor leads. Leachard on the outside, though, trying to make something happen. Drag race. And that was wrong. I thought they would catch him in the straight, but no, they are not. There is a possibility, not guaranteed, but a possibility they'll catch those GT cars in the Porsche curves. Leachard gets back in front of Vanthor. Slides the car. Vanthor sees the inside. Is he gonna lunge going into Arnage? Yes, he does. He slides in front of Leachard, and he's got it. That's about as clean as an overtaking can make happen in the Arnage corner. Now they're coming up to the Porsche curves once more. That will be Han in the 4GT they're about to come up on. Vanthor just ahead of Leachard. Goes to the inside of the 4GT. Leachard follows. Both of them are basically equally compromised through there. Skyline and VGT David are a little bit farther up the road. I think they'll catch them in a straight. But Vanthor is now the one with the track position over Leachard. Oh, Vanthor drops a tire into the dirt. Didn't slide off as much as Leachard did earlier, but now Leachard's got Vanthor. Leachard goes to an extreme outside. He's almost in the dirt, trying to go side by side as they come into the Dunlop chicane. Leachard makes a bit of contact, gets himself sideways, but now Vanthor is sideways coming out of the chicane. Leachard's back on his rear wing. Through the Dunlop curves. They come up on BGT David now. So David is going to compromise both of them here on the run onto the straight. Vanthor gets to David's inside without too much issue. And it looks like Leachard just barely does the same. Buffalo, who is leading GT, will not have an impact on this duo right now. Flying down the first of the 3 straights for Mulsanne. Vanthor has the lead. Leachard not really close enough to do anything to him. Not yet, at least. Under braking, he goes deep, trying to close the gap back down. Vanthor slides the rear of the car a little bit, but so does Leachard. Has Vanthor broken the draft against Leachard? No, Leachard's got the draft. He's already starting to close back in once more. Coming up to the second chicane again. Heavy under brakes is Vanthor. He slides really wide on exit. Leachard's gotten a lot closer this time. Now the gap's down to less than 75 feet. Vanthor opening the gap just a little bit with some slightly superior straight line speed, but the draft keeps Leachard in play. It's clean track for what will probably be 3 or 4 laps for this duo now. Vanthor slides wide, Leachard slides wide. Still basically right on top of each other. Leachard closing in once again. Boy, is he closing in. Is he going to try and make it side by side into Indianapolis again? Boy, he's thinking of it. He's looking at the outside. Vanthor goes deep. Leachard's a little bit more defensive. Vanthor throws it into Indianapolis. Will he keep it out of the dirt? He does. He'll maintain his position over Leachard for now. Now the run up to the Porsche curves once again. And while these two are fighting, Kenpachi Rampasamba is starting to run down the top 2 all over again. It's been a true knife fight here. We've had a few moments of relaxing, but for this first hour at least here in Stint 4 is the prototypes that have been incredibly elbows out, absolutely all over each other. We've had disconnects, we've had accidents, slides, spins, all sorts of stuff here. And it's still not over. An hour down, 40 minutes left. Vanthor barely holds it over Leaford right now as they come out of the fourth chicane, cross the line, and come up to the Dunlop chicane now. Reminder, these two are on slightly alternate pit stop strategies right now. Vanthor will have to pit before Leachard does. We anticipate that to be the case at least. And Kempachi, who's farther back, is going to be pitting earlier than either of them. Completely clean track ahead for this duo right now. I think Vanthor had a relatively solid exit out of those corners and onto the straights. It looks like he has opened up a very sizable gap on Leachard now. I think he has pulled the momentum in his favor at this stage of the event. The first Mulsanne chicane. We're going to knock out an ad break here. And when we come back, we'll continue to see how this fight for second, first, second, maybe third, plays out here at Circuit de la Sarthe. Welcome back to Circuit de la Sarthe here at Le Mans. The fight for the lead and prototypes continue. Leachard looks to the inside of Vanthor. Vanthor is going to come to the pits this time though. So Leachard goes to the lead here. And look there, who's now inherited second is Kempachi Rampasamba, who, while he's been making a few mistakes on track, he has been one of the faster prototypes now as this race has gone on. Rough Driving is also going to briefly end up ahead of Vanthor. Although I imagine Rough Driving will be pinning at the end of this lap, or maybe the lap after. Yes is making his stop. Third stop of the day. Skyline, who has fallen a little bit out of contention. He's got a little bit of engine damage, but he'll inherit 6 now over Yes. DJ currently in 5th. Here's Scored Buffalo. Meanwhile, in the GT category, this is your leader in GT. Pretty easy lead. VGT David has kind of been in his tire tracks, but David has not been able to min-max the tire life quite like Buffalo has. I think Buffalo's set to go back-to-back on Stint wins here. Breddy is kind of in an interesting position because he is pretty much maxing, or not maxing, but matching Buffalo's pit strategy right now in the Ford GT. And then you have Kinry, who is a bit behind. Kinry's... This LMP entry was going really long on stints in the first 2 stints. Stint 3 was a little bit closer to normal, and now this stint's a lot closer to normal. And then you have here Calco was in the lone Ferrari left in the GT category in this event. But keep an eye on Calco if you can. It's been a really, really interesting run in prototypes. GTs have all kind of figured out where they're going to be very early on in the event. Oh, something happened to Han. He's out of fuel! Han has run himself out of fuel in the 4GT! This 4GT entry has been finishing in the top 3 in 2 of the last 3 stints, but Han has run themselves out of fuel! And they're so close, but so agonizingly far from pit in! This is going to destroy Han's run here! They were looking at a potential top 4 finish again, but they have run themselves out of fuel! I cannot believe what we're seeing! I mean, I can believe it, I've seen it happen before, but frustration! They barely have any momentum at this point as well! Even Blocktoberfest will get by them. The agony! Han is barely moving. Here come the prototype field now. Kenpachi Rampasamba pinning this time. Wait, why is Kenpachi Rampasamba ahead of Leaker? What's happened to Leaker that has put him behind Kenpachi Rampasamba? He must have gone off somewhere and we've missed it, but Kenpachi Rampasamba is leading, and now Leaker is behind him, and Vanthor might have a chance to eclipse both of them all of a sudden. I don't know, I missed what happened to put Leaker behind Kenpachi Rampasamba. But now, again, the turns table in the fight for the prototype victory here. I think Han has just about made it to pit in. Where is Vanthor gonna be in relation to Leaker and Kenpachi? We know he'll end up ahead of Rough Driving. No, the 4GT is stalled. He is in ghost mode, but the AI can't seem to move him either. Han might have to drop out. His event may be as good as dead. Meanwhile, Kenpachi is already coming out of pit lane. Vanthor is flying down the straightaway. There goes Vanthor on the outside. He is cleared Kenpachi Rampasamba. And Leaker is falling way back behind both of them. The turns table again here for the prototype fight. Vanthor leads, but Kenpachi is behind him in second, and is now on fresher tires. Kenpachi has made quite a few mistakes, but apparently whatever mistake Leaker made was enough to put him behind Kenpachi. And now Vanthor has to deal with a different driver. He'll have to put a different driver, keep a different driver behind him. It has been a knockdown, drag-out dogfight for these positions throughout the majority of the race here. Here comes Kenpachi. He's got a gigantic run on Vanthor already. Looking to the inside. Is he going to dive into the braking zone? Yes, he does. He slides. Slides again on exit. Vanthor's got to run back. Vanthor gets the car back ahead. Drag race down the straightaway now. Vanthor versus Kenpachi Rampasamba. Here comes Kenpachi to the inside. Vanthor will actually have the inside as he comes into the second chicane. Neck and neck, and Kenpachi goes really deep. Slides on exit. Vanthor is back by. Kenpachi has that squatted setup on that car though, and has let him power out of these corners and get maximum straight line speed, but it's hurting his cornering ability so much. Vanthor is going around the outside. He kept on track, but Kenpachi had a perfect exit, and now Kenpachi powers by. And look at this! How did this happen? TJ, who pitted lap 1, he is now in 3rd position. This race continues to become curiouser and curiouser as it goes on, with TJ pull out an unexpected win. We've been thinking that he wasn't really going to contend for a top 5 result, but now with Leechard having instance and Kapashi and Vanthor fighting at the front, maybe TJ has the winning strategy. It's so hard to tell. So Kapashi leads, Vanthor behind. But Kampashi's car and the way that it's set up is not going to be handling well as they come into the Porsche curves once again. Oh my gosh, you can visibly see how much Vanthor closes. Kapashi licks the outside wall, just a real quick lick, like he's just trying to taste a grape in the supermarket without actually stealing it and getting caught on security cameras. That Ford GT of Han is basically done for. That car will not get moving, it seems. Oh, and Vanthor into the dirt. He keeps it barely. Just barely, but he keeps it out of the wall. But he loses a huge amount of time against the AMS driver. And now here comes TJ. Well, if TJ's plan was to pit lap 1 and spend a lot of time in clean air, it has not worked. TJ has spent some laps in clean air, but he has had to get his elbows out and fight every single driver on track on his way back up to the grid. TJ is just about caught Vanthor. Might have a run on him now. Still can't tell what Vanthor's actual condition is. He's the only one we can't tell. Flying down the back straight, the first third of the back straightaway once again. TJ has Vanthor. A little slide from TJ behind Vanthor. Vanthor's actually closed in on Kampachi just a bit as well. Our top 4 drivers, Kampachi, Vanthor, TJ, and Leechard, are all starting to close back in and cluster back in on top of each other. TJ's behind Vanthor. Not gonna make the dive, not here. For now, Vanthor is able to hold on to second, but TJ is putting him under some massive pressure, and now they're both closing down on Kapachi Rampasamba. Has Kapachi damaged the engine or something? No, he should be fine, but for some reason he is losing time to those 2, to the 3 behind him. Leechard is coming back into the fray as well. Riding on board with Leechard, you can see the fight for seconds just ahead between TJ and Vanthor. Getting around Oktoberfest here. But that GT car has really bunched up the top 3. Honestly, it's bunching up the top 4. Aboard TJ here. You can see the leader just ahead. Vanthor here in second. Oh, the GT car! What in the... Was he unghosted? Is there damage on TJ now from that? No damage. Okay. That would have been traumatic if that all of a sudden was an incident. Fight for the prototype top spot continues here. Vanthor about to catch Kampachi again. Kampachi Rampasamba has lost most of the big lead he opened up. Vanthor has caught him. TJ is just a little bit behind both of them, and so is Leechard. You could pretty much throw a blanket over the top 4. This fight in the prototype category will not quit. And they all still have one more stop to make before this event is over. Leachard has a run. Boy, does he have a run on TJ. He looks to the inside of TJ. So the fight's going to be for third place in this first. Leachard's already by TJ. And now Leachard gets a draft off of Vanthor. Is he going to try and make it 2 overtakes in a straight? He looks to the inside. Han finally drops out of the event, giving up, trying to get that 4GT into the pits. And Leachard now goes up to second ahead of Vanthor. Vanthor fires back down on the outside. TJ's dropped back just a little bit as these two continue to fight. Coming up on a bit of traffic, but they'll catch them in a straight line, so it shouldn't really hold them up too much. Vanthor, Leachard, side by side, into the second chicane on the Mulsanne straight now. And Leachard goes deep. He's got it. He slides in front of Vanthor, and he powers ahead. Now Leachard is back to being the one trying to run down Kenpachi Ramasama. TJ has really dropped off. I don't know what's happened to cause that. Did he damage his engine? No, but he may have pushed the tires a bit too far. TJ will likely be pitting this time by. Vanthor and Leachard continue to fight, while Kenpachi Ramasama continues to hold station at the head of the field. Vanthor to the inside of Leachard. Vanthor goes deep, but Leachard is more confident. He slides in, now slides out of Indianapolis. Vanthor has a run back, side by side into Arnage. Does Vanthor back out of it? Yes, he does. He backs out of it, but now has a better exit, side by side again for second as they come out of Arnage and come up to the Porsche curve once more. Drag race for this position now. How deep do these two go? Leachard's the one who goes deeper and gets second back from Vanthor. And now both of them suddenly start closing back in on Kenpachi Ramasama. Oh boy, Kenpachi went really wide there. I think Kenpachi might be pushing the limits on what that car can do. TJ's coming into the pit this time. Everyone has 13 minutes left to knock out their final pit stops here. We're going to go to an ad break. Well, no, I don't want to go to an ad break. We still have a little bit of time. Twitch isn't screaming at me yet. I really want to focus on this because this fight could change at any moment. The other thing is that TJ is going to be running in slightly cleaner, or not massively cleaner, but slightly cleaner air for a little bit, but his tires are going to be worn out compared to these three guys ahead. Oh, Kenpachi Ramasama hit FabRX, and now FabRX is going to compromise Leachard's run. Leachard's into the dirt, and that's going to let Vanthor get through. Vanthor is now held up by FabRX. So both first, second, and third all held up by the same Porsche. This is good news for Kenpachi Ramasama. It lets him open up a big gap on Vanthor and Leachard. This duo has to fight again. Onto the middle part of the Mulsanne straight. Vanthor has the position. Leachard wants it. Here comes Leachard to the inside. Drag race neck and neck. But no, Leachard backs out of it, lets Vanthor hold it. Kenpachi was held up by some GT traffic ahead here. But already, Kenpachi has cleared most of it. How much of it can Vanthor and Leachard clear? I think they might be held up by Loba as they go into braking this time. Goes to the inside of the Porsche. He gets them. He clears them. They're not going to be held up too much. Not this time. They will still have to deal with Kainri and Calco up ahead. second. Leechard's got to run. Who goes deeper into the corner? Oh, they're both about even this time. Vanthor really seems to struggle coming out of Indianapolis, though. Oh, and that's Kenpachi Ramasama! Kenpachi's gone off! Kenpachi Ramasama has gone off! Traffic catches Kenpachi Ramasama off, and Kenpachi slides out of the lead and falls to third! Now Vanthor and Leechard are fighting for the win on merit again! Oh, big sideways moment by Vanthor coming into the Porsche curves! He's trying to keep Leechard behind him! Coming up on Calco in the Ferrari GT entry. Vanthor is, oh boy, is Vanthor held up. Leechard's right there behind him, but there's no room for him to get alongside. Vanthor's coming in the pits this time. Leechard's gonna stay out a little longer. All right, we're gonna knock out an ad break now, and then afterwards we'll stay with you to the end of this stint here. Where is TJ going to end up in relation to Vanthor? Because TJ is now in a position he is not to make another stop to the end. His tires are going to be cooking really in a bad way at the very end of the stint, but TJ does not have to stop for the rest of the race. Is he going to be able to leapfrog Vanthor by enough that he can afford having the tires fall off at the very end of the stint? Oh my goodness, TJ is not where you want to pass traffic, but he couldn't really do anything about it there. Welcome back to Circuit de la Sarthe de LeMans. Here, in the middle of the night, stint 4 for the C lobby. TJ might be out of contention for the stint win. He pitted early, and although he ran a few laps in cleaner air, he is still well behind Vanthor right now. Kenpachi had the lead, but kind of let a lot of it bleed out, and then I think it looked like it may have been driver error, but he went off circuit trying to navigate lap traffic in the GT category. Leechard leads now by a significant margin. Is this going to be enough to get Leechard the stint win here? We still don't know he's going to end up in relation to Vanthor, and Leechard still is going to have to deal with some traffic. He's up here behind VGT David and will likely have to deal with Scored Buffalo before this is over. That should be Scored Buffalo. Yeah, that's Scored Buffalo just ahead of Leechard. So Leechard's going to have to deal with that BMW GT car, the big boy M8, going here through the S's. Nice by, but good lord, that was rougher than I think he needed it to be. Kenpachi having a little bit easier time getting by traffic this time by the looks of it. It's about 6.5 minutes left to knock out your final pit stop, so you can pit this lap or pit next lap. BGT David's gonna pit out second in the GT category now. Rough driving pits out third. This will put him behind Vanthor and TJ. Bit of a slide by Leechard. But it does look like at this stage of the event, he has the advantage over Kenpachi Ramasama. So Leechard now opening the gap. He's trying to pull away from the rest of the field here. Looks like everyone in GT who hasn't made their final stop, with the exception of Scored Buffalo, is doing it now. They don't want to run the risk of missing the chance to make their final stop and pushing it too far. So just for a moment, the prototype fight calms down here at LeMans. In GT, unless something wild happens, it's pretty much a given that will be Scored Buffalo who wins the GT category. With VGT David second, Calco might be in a position to steal a third place out of this. No guarantee yet, but it's looking like Calco might go back-to-back podiums in his Ferrari. But visibly, you can see Kenpachi Ramasama now starting to close back down on Leachard here. Both these drivers will be pitting on this cycle here, I imagine, assuming they don't want to get a penalty for missing the time to make their last stop. Again, you are required to do all 4 of your stops in this event in the first 90 minutes. When that race timer says 30 minutes left, you have to have your final stops already done. Kenpachi Ramasama closing back down on Leachard slowly but surely. The last 15 minutes of this race. Vanthor is the other wild card. Vanthor has already made his final stop. We don't know where he's going to end up in relation to these drivers. We know his tires will be a little bit more cooked, but they should still be fine to the end here. Leachard, that's wide. You can really tell he's pushing here. All right, and here they come. Prototype leaders into the pits. So now our focus goes to Vanthor. Where is Vanthor going to end up in relation to Leachard and Kenpachi Ramasama? Vanthor is already on the run up to the Porsche curves. He is well clear of TJ, so I don't think TJ is really in contention for a podium, unless I've completely misunderstood the pace that our top 2 currently have. Now we'll see Scored Buffalo coming to the pits this time as well, so that should take Scored Buffalo out of the way of our prototype leaders. Prototypes, I think, will be running in relatively clean traffic to the end of this event. Well, it looks like Leachard's already coming out of the pits. And Kenpachi Ramasama is already doing the same. Vanthor, here he comes. He's got a full head of steam. His tires are nice and warm. Does he have a shot at Kenpachi Ramasama? No, that gap is too big. The overcut still seems to be king here at LeMans. And now the 2 drivers at the front of the field have cleaner, fresher tires to the end. Rough driving is making a 5th stop today. No damage, just seems like he made some sort of mistake, but this is a 5th stop he has made today. This might put him behind, yes, for that position. We'll see in a bit. Yeah, there goes Yes. Yes clears him, but yes, his tires will be older, so there's a possibility that fight could still go many different ways here. All right. Meanwhile, in the prototypes, the top 4 all starting to close on each other once more. Leachard is first, Kenpachi Ramasama in second, Teenage Vanthor in third, and VER TTJ 111 in fourth. TJ, I think, has the least likely chance of doing anything here. I think it's really just between these top 3. Most of that's going to come down to Leachard minimizing his mistakes here. I think Vanthor may have a shot at Kenpachi Ramasama here. But with 10.5 minutes left, would Vanthor have enough of a shot, enough time to catch Leachard here? All drivers have made their mandatory stops. Top three continue to all close in on each other, it seems. Leachard does not seem to be as fast on the fresher tires. It seems like Leachard's pace really kind of picks up when his tires are worn out a bit. Gap is visibly closing between the top three. Yes, has gotten by rough driving now. Again, this trio is looking at a relatively clean track to the end here. Most of the GT positions have already been decided. Ford Buffalo has a respectable lead over VGT David. Then Calco is a distant third. Fourth is Breedy. Fifth is LMP Carney. It gets a little bit more chaotic behind that. Our top five all seem to be, our top five in GT all seem to be pretty well established. But for Prototype, there is still time for this to go a lot of different ways. Leachard is gradually losing time to Kenpachi Ramasama behind. And Vanthor is running down both of them. And if something happens, if one of these drivers had an accident, spun out, or anything like that, TJ is close enough. He's waiting in the wings. He can steal the top three result. Bit of a cut there by Leachard. 8 minutes left. So these drivers will be able to finish this lap, finish another lap. Not really sure where they're going to end up, though, on the third lap when they'll have to stop. The engine notes from Kenpachi Ramasama continues to get louder and louder. He's closing the gap, but he's only closing it by a few feet in a sector where he needs to be closing it by dozens of feet. Leachard may just have enough of a gap to stay ahead and win this. It's going to be incredibly bloody close here for this spot, though. I think Leachard is just relaxed and just trying to manage the gap. There's not a lot of gap for him to manage, but I think he's just trying to manage the gap. And the way Kenpachi Ramasama is sliding that car around back there in second, just managing the gap might be all he needs to do. This section here in the Porsche curves should be where he opens up the biggest gap over the two drivers behind. Vanthor is actually starting to lose touch with third, might fall into clutches of TJ depending on how this goes. To me, at least, it looks like it's just going to be all up to Leachard. Leachard needs to make sure he makes minimal mistakes here. Kenpachi Ramasama slid so much there. Alright, they're only going to get this as their last full lap around here. They're only going to do part of another lap afterwards. We're in the final minutes of this stint. Coming up on a little bit of traffic, that's Blocktoberfest, last in the GT category, but they're going to catch them in a straight line and clear them with basically no issue here. So Blocktoberfest will not have an impact on this fight for the GT victory. And Kenpachi might have gone off, and we may have missed it, because now that gap between first and second has massively opened up. I think this is over. And as long as Leachford doesn't have a big incident, a big mistake, I think he's got it. Vanthor clears the Porsche Blocktoberfest now. TJ is a little bit farther back there in fourth. He should be able to clear him as well, but it looks like this fight that's been a long, knife out, elbows out fight all day long has finally calmed down in the final 15 or so minutes. Seems pretty simple. That's going to be Leachford, Kenpachi Ramasama, and Vanthor finishing in that order. While Kenpachi has a car that's good in a straight line and can close down, he is not good enough in the twisties to make anything of it. He may be burning up his tires as well. The gap has got about 50% larger in this lap alone. Oh, and Kenpachi Ramasama's in the dirt. And he hold on to second over Vanthor. Leachford has vanished into the distance. Leachford may have to deal with one last lapped car in the Ford chicane, but other than that, there shouldn't be any more traffic for the prototype field to deal with. And yeah, Kenpachi is about to get caught by Vanthor. These drivers won't even get an entire lap here. We're just watching second to see if third place Vanthor can run him down and try to make a move, or if second makes a mistake. Oh, Leachford dealing with a big incident of lap traffic here at the very last time they go through the Ford chicanes. That closes Kenpachi down on him just a little bit, but not enough to really make it a threat. There's less than 2.5 minutes left. These drivers are likely going to end up stopping in a straight line on one of the straightaways here. Now Vanthor has to dispose of traffic. He'll do that without too much issue. I think this is over. The overcut absolutely is the strongest strategy to go with here. And in the end, it looks like Leachford is going to win off of just making slightly, I do mean slightly fewer mistakes, and off the back of the overcut. Kenpachi Ramasama will bring it home in second. Third will be Vanthor. And fourth will be TJ. He's recovered from a lap 1 incident. I'm not sure if it was an accident or if he was just strategizing differently to try and cut out a pit stop early on and run a bunch of laps in clean air. But the top 4, all basically with about 3 seconds between them. A minute left on the clock. is the closest that Kenpachi Ramasama seems to get to Leechard. This little section, and then the run down to Indianapolis and Arnage. But with 35 seconds left, I think they're just barely, I think our leader's just barely going to clear the Indianapolis and Arnage section. "20 seconds left in the event. There is traffic ahead, but Leechard should not have to worry about catching them. 15 seconds. 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time's up. Over. Plow. And there's your end result. Leechard wins. Kenpachi Ramasama right there in second. Third place will be Van Thor. Fourth place will be TJ, and they're all right on top of each other. Fifth place is a lot more different distance. Rough driving, had to make that extra pit stop. Sixth place is Yes, who didn't really recover, but just kind of dealt with that big accident early. Come home sixth. Seventh will be Skyline. Last after the accident between himself and Yes. In the GT category, the winner once again was Scored Buffalo. Back-to-back stint wins. VGT David in another BMW kept him honest, though, not too far off. This is another drunk French cameraman. Third place, back-to-back podiums for the Ferrari of Calco 429. Fourth place is Breedy in the Ford GT. Fifth place is LMP Kindring, and I think this car is really in a good position for overall distance here. Then it will be Lulba here, who will be sixth, just barely ahead of King Cameron in seventh. EMC Wasabi will be eighth. ZR Fabrics will be ninth. 10th will be AMS and Doctro. 11th will be NWR Zevo Skill. And last in GT will be Blocktoberfest. So we're going to knock out an ad break here, and when that's done, we'll try to get some interviews done with some of our top finishers in the two categories. Don't go away. We'll be back in a little bit here at Circuit de la Sarthe de Le Mans.